SummerSlam 2013 is best remembered for two classic matches, Daniel Bryan and John Cena for the WWE Championship and a show stealer between CM Punk and Brock Lesnar. Fast forward a year and the story was much different. CM Punk was no longer with the company after being fired, and Daniel Bryan was on the shelf with an injury after his triumph at WrestleMania 30. So, the 2014 edition of SummerSlam was marketed with two men, Brock Lesnar and John Cena, in what was labeled the biggest fight of the summer, a colossal epic waiting to happen, a battle of epic proportions. Just like the year previous, John Cena was going to be walking into the show as WWE Champion with the challenger heavily favored to take the win. But what we got instead of getting a classic was an article of wrestling history that's unforgettable and reinforces the point that you just never know what will happen. After all, this was the closing shot of SummerSlam 2014. The show had a pretty strong undercard as well, which featured a lot of new faces and ones who looked like they defined the future of the WWE. Some did, some didn't. Regardless, let's go back and take a look at SummerSlam 2014. SummerSlam and the California Heat is just a combination that works, and LA SummerSlam is just perfect. What else was perfect was the opening promo package for this show. Force of Evil style, giving everyone nicknames, Cena as the champ, Roman as Superman, Randy as the Serpent, all while overlaying Los Angeles cinematics. Of course, the two highlighted matches were Brock Lesnar versus John Cena and Brie Bella versus Stephanie McMahon to the tune of Flo Rida's It's Going Down for Real. Way too hyped. So well made. You guys know I'm a sucker for presentation. This package is one of my all-time favorites. I'm going to pretend like Hulk Hogan shilling the WWE Network to start the show didn't happen. Our opening contest is Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. This match came about after Miz won a Battle Royal at Battleground for the vacant IC title after Wade Barrett relinquished it. Ziggler pinned Miz the night after. Not much more build aside from that. Ziggler was in his normal state of wrestling random matches without much build and just having the most I'm here energy, while The Miz had returned under his new A-list celebrity gimmick. Miz starts off with a monologue on movies and how he's an A-list celebrity, the moneymaker, etc. Gets cheap heel heat by crapping on the Lakers. The story of the match is Miz trying not to get hit in the face. It's fast off the hop because these two are obviously great friends and have a strong in-ring chemistry. Crowd breaks out into a "You Can't Wrestle" chant for the Miz as he just wears Ziggler down. Dolph had some great offense in here, as he always does. I really think he's a fantastic performer who still doesn't get his due. Ziggler catches Miz in the face with a super kick. Miz tries to escape with his title before catching Ziggler in the figure four. Ziggler hits a famouser which is caught into a skull-crushing finale, and Ziggler kicks out, a finisher kick out in the first match that's pretty ballsy. Few seconds later, it's a zigzag, and Dolph Ziggler was your new Intercontinental Champion. They got just under 8 minutes, a solid opener, both guys clicked really well. It's definitely a good pace to start. They could have benefited from 3 more minutes, but I can't complain too much. I feel like if it went longer, maybe it could have been just below Angle and Mysterio and Ziggler as one of the better SummerSlam openers. I also must say, going back to 2014 reminded me of just how young some of these wrestlers were. Like Paige, she was just 21 years old and on her first night on the main roster beat AJ Lee for the Divas Championship. So they ran the whole frenemies angle while Paige told AJ she loved her. In the build, AJ called Paige her Casper looking crumpet. Okay, AJ returned, they did the holy crap deja vu angle. AJ won the title from Paige. These two got just under 5 minutes. What struck me was it sucks that we never got AJ with the crop of talent like the Four Horsewomen or Asuka or Bianca or Rhea. That would have been something really, really special. Crowd busts out into a CM Punk chant and AJ bites Paige off the handshake to start the match and rips out her extensions. There was a spot where Paige caught AJ and slammed her into the front of the barricade, which looked absolutely brutal. Paige did this weird crawl over AJ. Shining Wizard, nothing. Finish comes when AJ locks in the Black Widow. Paige turns it into a rampage, and Paige was your new Divas champion on only her 22nd birthday. Continuing the hot potato of the Divas title, it's crazy where they'd be 2 years from now. Then Paige plants a kiss on not only the championship, but on AJ's cheek too. So the champs are 0 for 2 on the night. Good match, and much like the championship match before them, they did the best with the time they had. I really don't get some of the pacing of this show. There's weird timing issues, and you're going to hear me reference them a lot in this video. Flag match up next, and weirdly enough, WWE had the rules up on their website, and then they took them down, so you didn't really know what you were going to get with this match. Cena and Rusev fought the year after, and the rules were different, where you had to take your country's flag and plant it in the pedestal. Here it was just a normal match with the winner getting their flag raised at the end. It was your standard foreign heel versus ultimate American patriot build. They ran this USA and Russia détente segment on Raw. Lana consistently bringing up Vladimir Putin while Zeb Coulter calls her Lena. Pre-match, Lana does her Shah top and asks the crowd to bask in the glory of Vladimir Tarasenko. Wrong Vladimir. The match starts with a pre-match brawl where Swagger gets Rusev in the Patriot Lock, and this was the story of the match, Rusev not being able to use the left foot. The match starts fast with Swagger taking it to Rusev and going after the injured leg. JBL then just becomes the ultimate hater. How sweet is this Maggle? Go America. That idiot Rusev doesn't know a damn thing. Teach him a lesson, Swagger. Teach him a lesson. America. In my notes, it says Rusev grunts a lot and has dedicated this match to Vladimir Putin while beating up Swagger with his ass. They did a good job at selling the leg, Rusev needing both legs to lock in the accolade, so instead we got a modified accolade. Swagger reversed this into a Patriot Lock, accolade, and Swagger passes out. Your winner was Rusev. I think a lot of people were in love with Lana at this time, but no one more than Zeb Coulter, because this man used the most grade 3 tactics I have ever seen. He just pretends to forget her name. I promise you, Zeb, you know her name. Rusev kicks Coulter in the face because, you know, that's his girl, and the Russian flag was raised. The anthem was played. I have no analysis for this. It was just there. It was okay. Now let's move on to better things. Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, and this match was awesome. Of course, 2014 is the year of that chair shot. After Seth Rollins turned on the Shield, it was Dean Ambrose's personal vendetta to do everything in his power to ruin Rollins' life. Everywhere this man went, all you heard was chants of "you sold out." Whether he was jumping out of gifts, out of car trunks, or just being the biggest shit disturber you've ever seen, Dean Ambrose did not let Seth Rollins rest. In this storyline, it actually made so much sense. A guy who you consider your brother betrays you. Of course, you're going to do everything in your power to end them. This match was supposed to happen at Battleground, but they made us wait. Ambrose won a beat the clock challenge to pick the stipulation, and he picked a lumberjack match. I remember watching this at the time, and a lumberjack match made 0 sense to me. The story between these two was revenge for Ambrose and Rollins trying to avoid him at every cost. So I thought it'd be like a steel cage match, maybe a last man standing match, maybe he was going to take the briefcase away from Rollins, or maybe even a Falls Count Anywhere match. Regardless of what I thought, this was awesome. 2 rising stars, one-on-one, and then there were 15 guys around them, of course. Damien Sandow dressed as an actual lumberjack, and commentary plays up the fact that everyone around the ring was a victim of the Shield. In the home of the Kings, it was a hockey fight to start off, and what I loved about this match is Ambrose is so hell-bent on destroying Rollins that he's got no game plan. Rollins gets sent to the outside, and all the lumberjacks, including known Ruffles, Fell in, Ryback, throw him back in. It's just your standard run-of-the-mill lumberjack match. One guy throws the other out, and the lumberjacks get him back in, and then it turns crazy. This thing spills to the outside. There's a superplex to take out all the lumberjacks. Both sides of the lumberjacks then separate between these two, and it's falling apart. Rollins gets thrown into the crowd, and then he just runs away. These idiot lumberjacks forget that they had one purpose in this match. Ambrose takes a bunch of them out before going table to table and taking out Rollins. So Rollins is running away into the crowd. The lumberjacks are doing jack squat. It's literally like they forgot what to do. These guys are brawling in the stands. Out comes Kane, and he reminds these dumbasses that they're supposed to contain these two. These guys are all brawling, and everyone goes after Ambrose and leaves Rollins alone. But then, watch out, Rollins. Watch out, CrossFit Jesus. The vicious Sin Cara. What the fuck? Thankfully, Cody Rhodes knows the point of this match, so they parade Rollins back, And look at this. It's a complete joke. Ambrose then hits a crossbody and takes out all the lumberjacks. Ambrose explodes with a clothesline, but this does nothing. Now the goofball lumberjacks have recovered. Ambrose hits a curb stomp on Rollins and Kane breaks it up, only for him to be confronted by Goldust. And look at this. A brawl breaks out in the ring between the Dunderjacks. Briefcase to the face of Ambrose. 1, 2, 3. Rollins wins. Anticlimactic finish to a really, really fun match. That was just chaotic. I would have loved if this was a no DQ or last man standing match. It still bugs me every time I watch this back just because of how well these two mesh together. I wish it had a better finish and they had more time. The finish was kind of annoying, but they wanted to play up to the fact that these two need a Hell in a Cell to contain them. This was the most chaotic lumberjack match ever, and that's what made it so fun. Was it wasn't this run-of-the-mill match. They tried different stuff, and that's what made it so memorable. Love this match. It was awesome. Cool down match between Jericho and Wyatt. This came after Jericho returned the same night as The Miz did and the Wyatts attacked him. They faced off at Battleground the month previous. This was nothing to really write home about. Very, very standard run-of-the-mill Raw match. The crowd seemed very tired after just watching the lumberjack match. Wyatts were banned from ringside, and I gotta say, this entrance, man, it was just a full-on experience. You don't need a blow for blow on this one. Their eventual cage match on Raw was much better. Also, apparently it was supposed to be Justin Bieber in a tag team match with Big Show and John Cena against the Wyatt family. Really crazy how this show would have shaped up if Daniel Bryan and Punk were still in the plans. Bryan wasn't on this show, but his wife Brie was. It was now time for Stephanie McMahon versus Brie Bella. I completely forgot how long this rivalry actually went on and how well constructed the story actually was. This had been going on since after Mania, where Bryan was the WWE champion, and of course, Steph being part of the Authority made it her personal mission to do everything to ruin his life. So Brie and Bryan had their life made a hell by Kane. Bryan got injured, so at Payback the question was, would he relinquish his championships or would Brie Bella be fired? This was after she put her hands on Steph while Bryan was getting carted out. Brie quit that night and gave Steph a nice little slap to add to that. And of course, this led to weeks of making fun of Daniel Bryan in a shady way, continuing to call him a B-plus player, putting her sister Nikki in 2-on-1 handicap matches, matches where she had her hand tied behind her back, and even 4-on-1 handicap matches. And perfectly, oh my god, look, it's Brie in the crowd. She doesn't work there, of course. Wonder what could go wrong now. Slap. You can't slap a paying customer. Steph gets arrested, and this actually had a strong story going in. A strong story with community theater acting, I should add. I also gotta say, you can say whatever you want about Steph, but she's so good at playing a heel. This match came about so that Brie would drop all storyline charges against Steph, but a week before SummerSlam, Stephanie made things more personal and tried to bait Brie Bella. She brings out who is supposedly Daniel Bryan's physical therapist, and apparently little old vegan boy was making Chelsea green, Chelsea red after every one of those therapy sessions. So she slapped Chelsea, Brie got arrested. Here we were. This was a much better match than I thought it was going to be. After all, this was the first time that Steph was going to be in the ring in 10 years, and respect to Brie, but she's not exactly a commander in that ring who can carry a match like that. Basic moves, nothing out of the ordinary. Steph wears Brie down and beels her across the ring, all while mocking the yes chant, cutting off Brie at every turn. Stephanie looks real solid in this match, and most of the offense is from her. Crowd seems to agree as they chant, "You still got it." Brie's offense looks very hit or miss. I'll say there's some moves that look very impactful, then others don't even look like they were close to landing. Anyways, out comes Triple H, followed from behind by Nikki Bella. Brie gets Steph into a yes lock, and Triple H pulls the ref out, and this bro flies out of the ring. Triple H gets knocked out by Brie, and now it's the two sisters and Steph. Steph, trapped between Nikki and Brie, has nowhere to go, and at that moment, Nikki pulls Stephanie away and knocks out her sister. Pulls up Steph, and there it was, the heel turn from Nikki on Brie. And the thing I liked about this is the acting wasn't overdone. Pedigree, 1, 2, 3, Steph wins. Okay, so Nikki didn't do the little smile or anything after the match. She knocked out Brie, so you're thinking, oh, maybe Nikki will join the Authority and it'll be a longer payoff down the line for Brie. None of that happened. And yeah, this story was a unmitigated disaster, with Brie eventually realigning with Nikki just a few months later and never getting her revenge. They did the whole "I wish you died in the womb," the Jerry Springer segment calling Daniel Bryan a troll. This thing was a complete mess. 1 year later, what else was a mess was the mega push of Roman Reigns. At this point, he was fresh out of the Shield. Triple H was going to name Cena's opponent at SummerSlam, and out came Randy Orton, and so did Roman. It slipped my mind that the Triple H and Roman match was teased 2 years beforehand. Here, Roman was a lot different. He was still finding his way. I think it was a fantastic idea putting Roman Reigns against Randy Orton. Reigns was obviously primed to be the guy for the WWE. The difference between these characters, though, is night and day. It's a slow pace to start this match off, and it's important to remind you guys that the crowd was not into this. But there was Randy Orton putting Roman Reigns into a rest hold. What do you expect? No one cared. Literally, there was no cheering, no booing. People just wanted to get to the main event. But then, these two made the fans care. We got a top rope superplex, they trade punches back and forth, Reigns starts building up momentum, and now the crowd is finally into it. Drive by and they brawl to the outside. The foreshadowing is crazy. Top rope Samoan drop, spear gets turned into a scoop slam, and this is where the hype of the match changes. There's an amazing RKO where Randy catches Roman's big clothesline into an RKO, but Reigns gets the shoulders up. Randy then winds up for a punch kick. Roman then springs off the ropes with a spear. 1, 2, 3. Reigns wins. Don't worry, bud. You'll get it for 3 years. This was Roman's first big match after the Shield split, and he looked great. And like I mentioned, this was a match of two halves. The first half was long, boring, and methodical, this grand feel-out process, and the second half had a careful placement of spots which made it a lot more fun. Enjoyable match, and like everything on this card, not ridiculously crazy, but solid. After this, Roman Reigns' ascension begun, and the rest is history. Now it was time for the main event. Buckle up, knuckle up, and let's do this thing. On one side, Brock Lesnar, after one of the biggest wins in WWE history against The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, ending the streak. On the other side, John Cena, the face of the company, and a man that not many people can say that they beat. There was a great promo by Cena where he told Brock that there's a stranger standing in his living room asking for him to come down and do something about it, that he had too many fingers and he was giving him the middle one. Intense Cena is just a different beast. Lesnar and Cena didn't even have a face-to-face until the final episode before SummerSlam, and they didn't brawl or anything like that. This was that segment, y'all remember?
Party's over, Grandpa.
They built this thing up like it was going to be the collision of a lifetime. This was built up like you were actually about to see these two men tear Los Angeles to shreds. This was going to be a fight unlike any other. And of course, you had no reason to believe otherwise. Look at their last match at Extreme Rules. There was an excellent video package that showed both their dominance, their last battle 2 years previous, and how Cena just wouldn't quit. The commercials for this thing, both these guys in the gym, the red overlay, the simple aesthetic, it was a big fight feel. The bell rings and Cena immediately storms Lesnar into the corner, but this has no effect on Lesnar. Lesnar pounds away on Cena, and this is exactly what I expected. Back and forth between these two. And then things change. Less than 30 seconds into this match, we get an F5 and the crowd goes ballistic. Cena kicks out, but just imagine if they actually did that. Then we turn into Suplex City. Brock Lesnar with no problem chucks John Cena back with German suplexes, and this is what happens for a majority of this match. Just this big beast that even Superman couldn't contain. These two didn't leave the ring for a second. As Cena starts to get dismantled, you hear this one recurring thing, and that's this little kid chanting "Let's go Cena" at the top of his lungs. That poor kid probably had the worst night of his life, along with everyone who thought Cena was invincible. By my count, the kid chanted "Let's go Cena" 31 times. And that's only what was picked up near the hot mic. Slowly, methodically, Cena gets picked apart and Brock took his time with it. Cena was just grimacing in pain. John Cena's little flurries though were really fun. They were adrenaline packed. The few moments where he did get in offense was good, and these two told a very strong story. And that story was that Brock Lesnar was on such a different level of dominance that not even John Cena could find an answer. Every rally, Lesnar would snub out, just attacking Cena with the ground and pound, Cena grasping for air, 16 German suplexes, and he just got ragdolled. There's this eeriness to the match. In this match, John Cena didn't even get to do his 5-knuckle shuffle because he's fighting from behind. He does turn an F5 into a desperate AA, but Lesnar kicks out. So this match in the first place was just so uneasy. So there's some dead moments on commentary that really brings you more into it. One final move by Cena where he hits the STF, but it's a third F5 that ends another legend, and your new WWE World Heavyweight Champion was Brock Lesnar. I'm going to call this the Staples Center Slaughter because this was something else. John Cena recently talked about this match with Sam Roberts, and here's what he had to say.
You just beat the streak. We ruin that if we have a 50-50 match. It's not my night, kid. Arn Anderson in the back of my head. I hope he understands the influence he had on my wisdom of this. It's not my night. How do you showcase the enormity of that win? How do we not waste the Undertaker's streak? It's not just Brock winning a match. It's all those matches that he had to lead up to losing. If I go out and have a 50-50 match and he just sneaks over, we wasted all that.
Cena's right. If they had a 50-50 match, that would lessen the effect of Brock Lesnar beating The Undertaker. It was an 80-20 match, and it's almost this article within wrestling itself that when you think something big is coming, a changeup could be thrown up, and you just never know. It was a given that Lesnar would take the title, but no one expected this to be the match. The way in which they went about it was so well done because it's still something that you remember. It lives on to this day. It's a talking point. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here making this video. The winner was predictable, but again, nobody expected something like this. It's crazy that Daniel Bryan was supposed to main event this show against Brock Lesnar. They had a classic match at Survivor Series. I wonder the direction they would have taken if that actually happened. And what a night this was. The 6th and final year where WWE ran Staples Center. I really enjoyed this show. It's one of those shows that for whatever reason I just like. From start to finish, it's just solid like I've said a bunch of times before. I like how this card was structured. The match placement was just correct and I really like how they did it. Not the best SummerSlam ever. My final rating of the show would be a 7.5 out of 10 with the best match being Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose. And I feel as though in all the 2002s and 2011s and 2013s, this one doesn't really get talked about overall, even though the final match is one that you always hear about. So I hope you guys enjoyed the retrospective. I should have about 2 more SummerSlam retrospectives coming soon. I'll catch you guys in the next one.